There are people who make music, who edit, and there are people who feel. Amir is both. He doesn't just make music or just cut footage. He carves meaning. He doesn't just sing, he says something. Today on Human Zenith, we go in deep into sound, into silence, into art of creating with purpose. Because when Amir creates, it's not just content, it's conviction. You grew up as an only child in a creative family. How did that shape your sense of identity and purpose as an artist?
Well, first off, I appreciate the intro. Thank you. Those are some very kind words. I could say the same about you, by the way. Like, I don't think I've ever heard a piece of yours or seen something that you've created that's been, frankly, like half-assed. You've put 100% into everything that you've created as well, which I think is where our bond and our friendship kind of started, because I could see the level of effort that you put into your stuff, and you could see the level of effort I put into my stuff. So there's a mutual appreciation there. Being an only child, yeah, I mean, being an only child is interesting because you have to find ways to keep yourself entertained when everyone else around you is not able to hang out or play or entertain you. And so you have to latch into, reach into that part of your brain that is the creative one, and to come up with fun games to play that you can play by yourself, whether that's like imaginary stuff or storytelling or whatever. And so that, I think, helped, sculpt the way that I approach problem solving. And creativity, if anything else, in my opinion, and you tell me your opinion, is very much problem solving. Like, if you have to approach something, and I use have to loosely, but like if you're approaching something and as an edit or as a producer for music or a producer for video, you are in essence problem solving. You are figuring something out that theoretically no one else has solved yet. And so you're trying to find a way to problem solve that. And so I think, being an only child kind of gave me a leg up, because I was very much used to, hey, mom and dad are busy right now, or hey, my friends aren't coming over for a couple hours. I've got a few hours to kill. What am I going to do? And it's either like play video games or like figure something out that's going to like entertain me in a more spiritual way. And so that was music. That was storytelling. That was, finding a way to create something out of nothing, right? And so I think that's kind of where all of that comes from. I'm seeing it right now, interestingly, as a dad, because I'm a dad to an only child, and I see the way that she entertains herself and the stuff that she'll come to me later and she'll write entire, she's 6 years old, by the way, and she'll write like entire comic books, like 20, 25 pages with panels, storytelling and everything. I'll be like, hey, I made this. It's like, when did you make this? And it's like when mom and dad were busy, we were, doing household chores, or we were doing taxes or whatever the heck we had to do, and we just didn't have the time at that moment to like entertain our kid. She found ways to entertain herself. So, it's interesting when you're put in that situation where like by default you have to entertain yourself. What's your go-to? How do you do that, right? And so mine was creativity.
When did you first realize your creativity had a message, that your art could carry meaning beyond self-expression? I know you started super early. I think it was 2 years old. But when was the first time that you kind of felt like, okay, I have some sort of a message?
That's a great question. The 2-year-old stuff is debatable, because that's going off of what my parents told me. There's no video proof of me playing at 2, but for argument's sake, it's 2. There is pictures of me playing at 3, so it's either 2 or 3. It's one of the two. But I realized I could do more than just saying random words. Like when I was like writing lyrics or writing music, I very specifically remember my dad's a musician, my mom's a musician. They're both musicians. Like I'm from a family of super talented, uber talented musicians. And I remember I had this song that I was writing. I was very much like a New Kids on the Block fan. So I was writing a lot of like, you know, songs about girls when I was like 6 years old, right? And I'm like, hey, Dad, I got this song. And I would sing it to him. And I'd sing him like the verse and the chorus. And then like legitimately, after I was done, he's like, oh my God, that was great. Sing it again. And I'd sing it again. And my words were completely different the second time. And he's like, your words changed. He's like, you're just singing gibberish. Like you gotta sing with meaning. And this is coming from a dad who very much, if you're Persian, you understand like how important poetry is in our culture. My dad is obsessed with Rumi and Hafez and the greats, right? And like knows them front to back, right? Like he just quote them like this. So poetry and lyricism, super important to him. And so that instilled in me, I was like, oh wait, I can't just like make this up. I can't just like say stuff that like is gibberish. Like I have to say something, right? And so by doing that, it enabled me to kind of like really think about like what I'm saying. And still 6 years old, I'm writing songs about girls. Like the lyrics were still dumb, but at least at the end of the day, like they were consistent. You know, like I had a story, I had a, you know, storytelling 101, right? You have, what is it? There's like three things. There's three segments, right? There's like the peril, the solution, and then the outcome, right? I forgot what the terminology is, but there's the problem, how you're going to solve it, and then the actual like solution. That's storytelling 101, right? That's how every movie is made. And so I approach that also in like my producing for videos. It's like, I don't make videos just to make videos. Like I want to tell stories and I want it to be self-explanatory. So like if you play a video, you don't have to sit next to the person and be like, oh, this is happening over here because blah, 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 blah. Like it's self-explanatory. I press play, you sit back and you watch it and you get, you know, what the message, what I was trying to get out as far as the message goes. Right. So, I don't succeed all the time with the stuff being meaningful. There's some songs I've written lyrically that are not great. But the intent is always the same. The intent is always to say something that has some sort of storytelling element. Again, problem, here's what's the solution and what's the outcome of that solution.
You and I used to work together for a company. It was called, the show was called Best of the Bay. That you used to all sorts of things. You were the host, you were doing edits,
I did a lot of
you were doing producing.
A lot of stuff for that show, yeah.
Yeah, you were wearing a lot of hats back in the day. And then for years, you have been working for a huge company called Workday. You know, so you have a lot of experience that shape your perspective and your creative collaboration and intention with other people. How do you see yourself working with others when it comes to creativity and the intent that you have in sharing that with a group?
Yeah. It's interesting, right? Because we talked about like how being an only child kind of helped cultivate my creativity and my storytelling. But this is where being an only child is more of a nuisance, right? Because it's almost foreign to me to collaborate on a regular basis, right? Because it wasn't something that I was used to. Right. So that's a skill that I had to learn. That wasn't something that was like, that came natural to me to like depend on others and to delegate and to trust and to say that, okay, I trust this person to do this edit. I trust this person to mix this song for me. I trust this person to master this song for me. Those are skills that through trial and error, I had to learn over time. I had to earn those skills. They weren't something that by default I had because of being an only child and always having to just rely on myself, right? So there's always that mentality as an only child of like, I can do it. You say yes to everything. Like, I got it. And When you join a corporation the size of Workday, which is 20,000 people strong, and then you join a corporation, small business like Best of the Bay that you and I were at, which was 40 something people, and still there's a lot of delegation, there's a lot of trust, there's a lot of like, Nami's got it, like let Nami do the edit, he's totally got it, don't need to interfere, get out of the room, let him do his thing. And there's a lot of learning that skill and leaning on others, and also being accountable, right? I remember very specifically for Best of the Bay, like I was in charge of watching the show front to back and making sure there was no errors. And I think just one day I don't know if I was being lazy or tired, but I didn't pay attention, and a whole 60-second spot didn't get included into the thing, and it aired. And I absolutely deservingly so got in trouble for that. And it was one of those things where I was like, again, like it's not just the cooperation of like I have to lean on this person, but others are leaning on me as well, right? Like if I screw up from my own thing, okay, fine, I screwed up from my own thing, no harm, no foul. The only person who suffers is me. But if I screw up for an organization, or if I screw up for a small business, now the small business looks bad. Now the organization looks bad, right? So those are skills that, truthfully, were skills that I had to earn over time, that I had to earn and learn through over time. But to answer your question, it has enabled me to have better relationships with people overall, right? Because they're transferable skills. Like if I can trust a coworker to do XYZ, I can trust a partner to do the same, like in our personal life, or I can trust a parent or a child even to do the things that they say that they're going to do, right? So those are things that, through trial and error, I've gotten better with over time.
Amir, I truly believe that creativity that works in a group setting always works with the individual starting the creative process or the idea by himself first. Then when it's good enough and you think that it is worth sharing with a group, you would bring it to the group and you go like, what do you think of this? And the group makes it better. There has been so many instances that I've tried to do a creative project that I didn't have an idea, and I came to a table, a group of people that all had like different point of views. And at that table, that first spark started happening. And the way those projects came out were not as edgy as, something that it would start from one person and then it would get better and refined by a group. Is that something that you have experienced in the past at all?
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. Both in songwriting and in video production. I mean, with video production, I'm in a position now with what I do where I can't do it by myself. I have to be in a collaborative environment, and I have to work with people, and I have to rely on others because there's just way too much content and there's way too much stakes for it to be just on me, right? So it has to be a collaborative process, and through that collaboration, you find blind spots, right? You find spots that like you didn't even know were there as far as the content that you were creating at the time. Someone else can point out something and be like, what about this? Or why do the colors look like this? Or what about the sound mixing here? Or what about the edit pacing here? Or whatever. And you're like, wow, I didn't even notice that as I was putting it together, right? Songwriting, the same thing, right? Like I've written some of the best songs that I've written with other people. And that's not to say that like I'm not proud of the songs that I've written by myself, because I very much am. But when you get in a room with someone and you are going back and forth, and what about this idea? What about this arrangement? What if we did this here? What if we did that here? Now you have, two brains are better than one, right? So you almost, if the both of you or the three of you or however many people are in that room can get on the same wavelength, and that part is the important part, is getting on the same wavelength of like, having a common goal of like, this is what we're going to create. This is what we're trying to get to. Then it works. My go-to collaborator is my dad. My dad, like I've said earlier, is a freaking genius songwriter. And so anytime, and I mean this legitimately, anytime I've like hit a roadblock with a song, specifically when it's like my piano stuff, or back in the day when I was dabbling with the Persian stuff, it's like I go to him and I'm like, I'm stuck here. What do I do? And like, it's like within 5 minutes, he's like, okay, how about no. And like, he'll just like, he'll find the roundabout way to get to where we're trying to go. And it's finding that solution in the middle, right? Like here's the problem, here's the solution, the ending. I have the problem, I have the ending, I don't have the solution. I don't know how I'm going to get there. I just know I want to get there. And so it's like collaborating with someone like him or in bands that I was in before, it's very much like, hey, I've got this idea. What should we do with it? And just kind of figuring out, having the common goal of like, we want the song to sound like this, or we want the video to look like this. How do you get to that point, right? Without it being formulaic, without it being like using all the tropes that you would usually use, because that's kind of the easy part. You can always just stick to the same 4 chords or stick to the same arrangement. But if you want to do something a little bit more unique, a little bit more something that stands out, like I think having those conversations is important.
Very interesting. So, Amir, when you sit down to make music, whether it's piano, guitar, or vocals, what drives you? Is it emotion? Is it message? Is it connection or something else? Let's get deeper.
That's a great question. I don't know. To be honest with you, I don't know. I know. Here's something that I don't say often, but I've tried to quit music many times. Not for any other reason than there is this voice in my head that says you should be doing more, right? And regardless of how much I output, regardless of how much I make or how much praise or criticism it gets, that voice continues to say, you should do more, you should do more, you should do more, right? And so there's been times where I've just been like, I don't even want to do this anymore, right? But as much as I've tried to like quit it and just say like, I'm not going to play piano, or I'm not going to play guitar, or I'm not going to do this, there is something in here, right, that like drives me to pick that thing up, or drives me to, go to a piano or whatever and just jam. No, do nothing else but jam. And I wrote this in an Instagram post the other day. What drives me, and that was past me, but as I'm answering this question, I guess I'm realizing what drives me now, and this is going to sound so egotistical and narcissistic, and I don't care, is
that's okay. I was actually thinking about that. If as an artist you are not starting with a little bit of a selfishness, you kind of don't have a voice. You're just very like gray, and you're like passive. You have to have that. It's a requirement, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think there is a part of me that almost has an FU attitude of like, I can still do this and I can still kill it, and I can still make stuff that's, awesome. And I'm almost saying that to myself, right? I'm not like saying it to like an audience per se. I'm almost saying that to myself. It's almost like a challenge to be like, let's make something that at 43 is some of the best work you've ever made in your life, right? And so that part is, I think that's what motivates me now more than ever. Cause like, I don't get motivated by like, I don't like listen to a song on the radio or on Spotify or whatever and be like, ooh, I like that, I want to make a song like that. That hasn't happened to me in years, where like I've heard a song and like that song has sparked something for me to make music like that. That doesn't happen for me anymore. I think what inspires me is like feelings, like this feeling of like, the song that I just released last week is called Vision. And it's a song that very much, the lyrics are some of my favorite because they're the truest thing. Like my daughter was born, and my wife and I were in the hospital, and I had my first and only vision I've ever had in my entire life. It was very much like if I didn't believe in God before, I 100% believed in God afterwards, because I very specifically remember I was taking a shower in the hospital, and as clear as day, I saw my daughter's first birthday, like as clear as day. I saw where we were. I saw the park that we were at. I saw the balloons. I saw the cake. I could hear the people singing, like as the clearest thing ever. And I remember coming out of the shower and telling my wife, I'm like, I just had the craziest experience I've ever had in my life. And a year later, we manifested it. My daughter had that birthday. It was at that park. It was with those balloons. It was with that cake and everything like that. And so like, Vision is very much a song that, like, at first I started it out as like, oh, let me just see what I can make. And like, I gave myself 2 hours. Let me see what I can make in like 2 hours. And it became easily one of my favorite songs I've ever written. And that song is proof to me that I can still do it. Like if no one else listens to that song, like it's proof enough to me that like, I've still got it. I can still make songs that like, I can listen to that put a smile on my face. You know, it's so funny. Like I've met artists and friends over the years who've like proudly said like, oh, we don't like to listen to ourselves. It's kind of cringy to listen to your own music. And I'm like, all I do is listen to my own music. And I don't like, I don't know if that's like, again, narcissistic, but like, I love listening to my own music. It's a reminder that like, I've got this ability to do this thing. And you know, again, narcissistic, like I'm good at it. And, you know, so when I say there's like this FU attitude, it's almost as if like I approach it with this attitude of like, I'm gonna prove myself and whoever doubts me wrong today by doing this. I think that's what motivates me more than anything. You know, like it's just that, and the Instagram post that I had alluded to earlier, I had written that, you know, my family is a very humble family. My mom is one of the most humble people I've ever met in my life. My dad is one of the most humble people I've ever met in my life. And they've very much always kind of been in the background. They've always let other artists, for lack of a better way of saying it, use and abuse them, right? Come in, use their talents, use their production capabilities, use my mom's voice, my dad's songwriting ability, pay them next to nothing, if anything, not pay them at all. And, you know, stay at our house for weeks on end and make the songs, whatever. And then the second they don't need my parents anymore, gone. We don't hear from them anymore. We don't talk to them anymore. And as I've gotten older, you know, I used to brush it off, be like, it is what it is. And as I've gotten older, like, it's just gotten to be like, no, screw that. Like that, I'm not okay with that anymore. You know, I'm not okay with people not realizing that like my dad is responsible for some of the most iconic Persian commercials of all time. I'm not okay with people not knowing that my mom is the singer on Bijan Mortazavi's duet Faryad. Like it bothers me that people don't know that's her. And it bothers me that people don't know that she's duetted with Daryush before. And she's like done crazy stuff before. And like, you know, people are, you know, it kind of gets on my nerves a little bit. And so, you know, I approach it sometimes from that animosity point of view, but there's also this part of me that's like, it's proud. I'm proud of where I come from, what I represent, what I'm able to do. And so there's a part of me that just goes, screw it. I'm just going to make something that like I'm super proud of making today.
Are there moments or rituals that reconnect you, you know, with your why as an artist? Like, why all of this? How are there moments like that?
Again, I think it goes back to like me trying to quit music, right? And be like a quote unquote normal person, right? And the inability to do that. And no one was forcing me to play. There wasn't this you know, this demand, if you will, for me to continuously produce content. No one was like banging on my door. It was just something that I always felt like was a part of me to do. But today, it's my kid. You know, I want to show my kid how cool it is to express yourself. Like, I'll tell you this. So last weekend was Siza Badar. For our non-Persian viewers, the 13th day, if you will, celebration of the Iranian New Year. Historically, on a Saturday or Sunday that falls within that 13-day time frame, people gather at like a local park, and it's a whole thing. People dress up and they try to show off in front of one another. It's hilarious. But like people bring food and stuff, and it's very much a way to just kind of hang out and be with your peers and et cetera, et cetera. But anyways, at our local season, here in the San Jose area, an Iranian, I don't know, legend, I guess is the word. Old school Iranian artist by the name of Sandy was the artist on stage, was the main artist performing, right?
And so he's good.
Yeah,
that
he was
guy
fun.
Knows harmony very well.
He was fun. Yeah. And so when he played, some local artists were opening for him, and people were paying attention, but kind of not really, whatever. And then Sandy came on stage, and I very visually remember just this horde of people getting up and just going whoosh, like up to the front of the stage. And there was, couple thousand people like crowding the stage trying to watch this guy perform. And I think he did like an hour-long set. And I very specifically remember holding my kid. My kid is in the midst of taking singing lessons, right? So she's got her singing genes from her grandmother and, some form of musical talent from me, whatever. And so she likes to sing. There's a part of her that enjoys singing. And I held her, and we're watching Sandy. We're like, I don't know, 100 feet away from the stage. And I said, do you see that? And she goes, what? I'm like, do you see all of these people crowding this stage? She's like, yeah. I'm like, all of these people are paying attention to that one guy. That one guy is using the power of his voice to communicate with all of these people at the exact same time. That is power. And she just looked at it like amazed. I'm like, that's what you can do. You can do that. You can, through your voice, through your talent, communicate with all of these people where they are hanging on every single word that you say. That is pure power. And she just looked at it like in amazement, and even like drew him later. You know what I mean? So for me, it's like, it's to show my kid how awesome it is to express yourself in any way that it is, whether it's, singing or drawing or editing or whatever, some form of something, right? Like, I hate it when people tell me like they don't have talent, because that's BS.
It does not make sense.
It doesn't make sense. Everyone has talent. You just have to tap into it.
So speaking of Persian music and Persian artists, what do you think of Ed Sheeran's new song?
Yeah, it's blowing my mind, to be honest with you. It's blowing my mind.
And in one of your Instagram posts, you were defining the parts, like how many parts it has. And
yeah.
It's crazy. It's just chorus and pre-chorus.
Yeah, there's no verse. There's no verse. Because typically a verse would be like, lower vocals or whatever, but he literally starts the verse with da da na 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 na. I mean, it's like, it sounds like he's singing a pre-chorus, right? It might be the verse.
Do you think the melody in the middle sounds like Davud Behbudi's?
Sounds like Asal, right? By Davud Behbudi.
Yeah. Just played differently, right?
Yeah, I think there is some inspiration there, right? It's so funny, right? Because I think I've come across as somewhat of a hater on Instagram about this song, and I'm not. I think the song is great. What has perplexed me is the Iranian community's overexcitement about this song, I think, is the word, right? Because I know from experience, and I'm not just talking about myself, there was a time where I was exposed to a lot of Iranian artists in one way, shape, or another. You as well, right? We both kind of have our connections with the Iranian community as far as the music industry is concerned. I'll never forget when Kamran Human did an interview. Kamran Human are these two brothers that are singers in the Iranian community, whom they did an interview one time, and the journalist asked them, where do you guys come from? And they said Canada. And the amount of shit these guys got to say that they were from Canada was next level. Like, people were like, how dare you? How dare you not say that you're Iranian? You remember this, right?
Yeah, Kamran Human canceled.
Like, how dare they not say that they're Iranian, but they're Canadian? What do you mean they're Canadian?
They came out and apologized.
They had to apologize. They had to do, there was like the smirk on their name. I mean, it was like this whole thing. And so, but when an American artist, or not American, but you know what I mean, when a non-Irani, when a Khariji artist, when a British artist like Ed Sheeran sings one word, he's not even singing like a verse or anything. He's just like singing a word. Yeah. And like the comments that I see, bro, they're like, people are gushing over this. And I'm like, okay, fine, fair. It's a good song. Hey, Ed Sheeran, thank you for bringing exposure to the Iranian culture at a time where we really need it, because, hey, America might go to war with Iran any day now. And it's with an Iranian producer, so God bless him. This producer works with Max Martin, which, if you don't know, Max Martin is like the producer in the world, if not one of the producers in the world. Backstreet Boys, Britney Spears, Taylor Swift, NSYNC, like you name it, this fool's worked with him. He's based out of Sweden. And so I guess this guy is like a protege of Max Martin and or works with him. And so therefore that's how they got hooked up with Ed Sheeran and therefore made the song, et cetera, et cetera. Fine, if you're gonna do that, then when your Iranian artists veer out of singing Persian music, I want you to give them the exact same support you're giving Ed Sheeran. To me, it's hypocrisy, and I'm very much that guy who pushes. I am that annoying dude who goes, "Oh yeah, well, what about this? What about this? What about this?" And I'm like, it's just one of those things where like I love the Iranian community to death. I feel like a very big part of my identity is being Iranian American. But to me, also, it's hilarious that, like, you know, we have this bias of like, no, Persian artists only have to sing Persian music, and it's like, no, no, they don't. they can sing other stuff, and you should support them the same way you're supporting this Khariji artist singing one Iranian word in his song.
Yeah,
that's all.
And Amir, what you are mentioning right now is showing how much of an artist you are. An artist is brave, voices his opinion, and is not afraid of being judged. And even in this conversation, you remain that person, which is very, very respectful for me.
I love Ed Sheeran, for the record. I love Ed Sheeran. I think he's written some great songs. I think A-Team is one of the best singer-songwriter songs I've ever heard. I love
absolutely
some of the stuff that he's done with Benny Blanco, like the stuff that he's collaborated with Benny Blanco on the songs that they've written together, like Love Yourself, that Justin Bieber sang. Like, this is not hate on Ed Sheeran. Ed Sheeran is awesome.
He's fantastic.
Incredibly awesome. He's fantastic.
So Amir, what kinds of messages or values do you want your art to carry forward, like into the world? Like, what do you want to be remembered as when it comes to your message?
It's a really good
it's a big question.
That's a really good
You
question.
could think about it for a moment. It's like, what is the meaning of life, Amir?
Yeah, pretty much. I don't know. Yeah. I think for me, I just, when I'm not making music, I'm making videos. When I'm not making videos, I'm, dabbling in some sort of production or something like that. I love the idea of making something out of nothing, which I think is why I've never like sampled anything. And not to talk sampling. I think sampling is an art form in itself. I'm just not very good at it. But like, I love the idea of like, I started out with a blank project, and by the time I was done, here is this finished piece, whether it's a video, whether it's a song or anything like that. That excites me more than anything. And it could be my Achilles heel, because I don't have something that I want to point to be like, when I'm gone, like I want to be remembered for this. I don't have that. I think right now, like, again, being a dad and being a dad to like a 6-year-old is more so of like, I just want to show her how awesome it is to have this ability to do what you want to do and create what you want to create, and not rely on like, let's go to Target and buy some toys to keep you occupied. It's like, no, let's create stuff out of nothing and be proud of what you made, right? I think that's what motivates me more than anything. I'm not trying to like have like a message of like, you know, this is what I want to say to the world. I think more than anything, I just want to like express, you know, talk about my stories and you know, sing songs that like bring joy and that people can connect with in one way, shape, or another. I think that's it. You know, and from the piano aspect as well, it's the same thing. Like I've played piano and I've made songs where people turn around and go, man, like that your playing is incredible, blah, 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 blah. But like that doesn't motivate me as much as like, oh my God, I love that song.
Yeah.
That motivates me more than like, wow, dude, you could play super fast on the piano. I'm like, that's great. Do you remember anything that I played? Not really, but I just remember you were playing fast. Okay, cool. For me, it's more exciting to be like, wow, you wrote this song and I love the melody and I love the chorus and I love like the arrangement and I love the production, blah, 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 blah. So those are like my best compliments. Like when I put out a song and someone goes out of their way and goes, dude, the production on that song was great. Sweet. Like that makes me happy, you know? But like if I put out a video of like me playing piano and someone's like, oh my God, how do your fingers move so fast? I practiced, you know, for 5 days a week, 6 days a week, an hour a day for years and years and years, you know, like that's how I got to that. But like that to me is not as satisfying as like creating something that where someone then goes, oh wow, I really connected with that.
Yeah, you got to put in the hours. You can't just watch and just hope that you would get there by just watching and just like reading or something. You got to put in the hours.
Oh, 100%.
It's a must.
1,000%. Yeah, I practiced an hour a day, 6 days a week for 7 years, pretty much until I got to high school. And then in high school, I took, this was before they did block scheduling. I had, you know, 2 electives that you can pick, and I'm a musician, so both electives I picked were music. And so I was in what was called advanced band, and I was in also what was called jazz band. So I was playing 2 hours of music. Actually, this happened in 6th grade. So from middle school, from 6th grade all the way till senior year of high school, including senior year of high school. So 6 years, I was playing 2 hours of music every single day, 5 days a week in school, every single day. And you know, Saturdays and Sundays, I was doing my own thing at home, obviously, because I wasn't at school. But I was taking private lessons until then, you know, practicing on my own, classical music and jazz music. And then once I got to middle school, it was 2 hours of music every single day. And that's where you kind of get to, you know, I've had students in the past, I used to teach piano, and, you know, parents would ask me like, oh, you know, how long will it take for my student to get from blah, blah, blah. I'm like, that's up to you. That's completely up to you.
It is a way of communication. If you're playing the piano, you are communicating through melodies, through volume, through ups and downs of this thing you're doing. And you got to practice it. It's like talking is the same way. You have to talk. You can't be just texting all the time. You know, you have to pick up the phone and not be afraid of talking to people, or, you know, it takes time and it takes effort. But as you see, like with you could play the piano very well. That impresses people. You could communicate. You could, you know, convey a feeling that you have. I think these are all a must. Amir, a lot of creatives struggle with needing approval or codependency. I do it too. You know, sometimes I'm like, is this thing that I created, is it any good? You know, everyone does that. So what has helped you stay self-reliant and rooted in your own voice?
Have you read the Rick Rubin book?
No, I haven't.
The Creative Act, I believe is what it's called. Rick Rubin, for those who don't know, is one of the most prolific producers of all time. He is responsible for combining Run DMC and Aerosmith to do Walk This Way. He's produced...
I remember that. Such a good song and music video.
His book is interesting because it's 300 some odd pages, and every single chapter is about a page long. every chapter is literally a few paragraphs, and then he moves on to the next thing. And it's basically just a bunch of like micro bits of wisdom that he just kind of puts together. And one of the things that he says in there like rings so true to me is that when it is time for you to create art, you need to create art. It's not something that you could put off for later. It's not like I have this idea. Okay, that's good. I'll put that in the memory bank and I'll deal with it when I deal with it. Like, as an artist, you're supposed to tap into it like right then and there if you have the means to do it. So whether that means like taking out your phone and like doing like a voice recording or something like that, something to kind of get that idea out there. And then the second thing that I've learned from reading that book is like, just put it, because it'll never be good. That voice that you talked about, that you have yourself of like, doubting the creations that you're making or whatever, it's never going to be good. You're never going to make it where you're like, this song is perfect. It's just not going to happen, because there's always going to be like a mix issue or a master issue or a panning issue or an EQ issue or an arrangement issue or a sound issue. There's always something that like, as you're making it, you're like, this could be better. This could be better. This could be better. When you're done with it, put it out in the world and move on. Because that is brain power and creativity power, if you will, in your brain that's just taking up too much space.
Yeah. And it could expire too, right? So get it out.
1000% it's expired. I have this story. It's a little sad, but I'll tell it really quick. I have a song that I'm going to release like in the next month and a half. It's one of those songs that's like not done yet. It's not perfect yet. When I was in a band, I was in a band with a bunch of dudes that I put together, and the band was called Racket City. It was the first band that I had put together in a while. They did me the huge honor of taking a bunch of the songs that I had written as a solo artist and repurposing them as a band, and we got to play a lot of the songs that I've always wanted to play live. And the band, selfishly, I thought was incredible. And it was incredible because the guitarist, who was from another band, super talented guitarist, bassist, whom I had kind of plucked from another band, super talented, and our drummer, who I ended up becoming very close friends with, amazingly talented. Like could play any Dave Grohl drum lick, could play anything you threw his way. Just absolutely incredible dude. This dude from Israel who had migrated to the United States, and he and I found a bond over being Middle Eastern and yada 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 and everything like that. And so I had this song that I wrote when I was in the band that we would perform live called Demons, that I never had a recording of. And he was kind of starting his own his own business on the side where he would record drums for people. He's like, hey, do you want me to record drums for one of your songs? I'm like, yeah, sure. Record drums for Demons. Right. And I paid him and everything. And he did the drums and sent it back to me. And for years, this dude would be like, hey, where's the song? Hey, where's the song? And I'd be like, I'm going to get to it. Yeah, no, the drums sound great. I'm changing the arrangement. I'm changing this. Last year, my friend, a year and a half ago, my friend got diagnosed with cancer, and 6 months ago, he passed away. And he never got to hear it. Never got to hear the finished song. And that eats at me, right? And the version of the song that I have now it's so different than what we originally did, but it's his drum parts to a T. I didn't touch his drum parts. His drum parts are exact. I didn't rearrange anything. I think I cut out like 8 measures somewhere because I just didn't need it anymore. But I didn't like move things around and whatever. It's his drum parts, front to back, and I like wrote a brand new song on top of it. So it's not Demons anymore at all. It's a completely new song that I wrote to his drum parts. And it's one of those things where like, if I had followed the advice of Rick Rubin in that book, like he would have heard that song a long time ago. He would have heard the fruits of his labors playing drums on that track, that like he spent time putting on those, recording those drums and miking them and mixing them and everything and sending them to me and stuff. It was just one of those things that I just never had the time to do. Right. And so I think, when you look at it from that perspective of like, you might not have tomorrow to keep working on this song. You might not have next week to put it out. Just make it and be done with it and put it out, right? Because you've done it, you've put it out there. That song is in its rawest, purest form, because that's the form that it's supposed to be. It hasn't been overproduced to hell where it's lost all of its soul, right? I'm speaking of AI stuff, right? And so it gets out there, right? And so that's one of those things that's a lesson from on my end of like, I have all these songs that like I've sat on for years, and I'm like, what am I sitting? What am I waiting for? Why am I waiting for the perfect time? When is the perfect time? right? There is no perfect time.
Never.
Put it out.
Just get it out there. After all, nothing is perfect, you know. You can't just sit down and contemplate on something and never get it out. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that story.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, he was a good dude. AL was his name. He was a really, really good dude. Yeah, man. Killer drummer.
When all is said and done, what do you hope your work stands for?
That is the magic question, right? It's interesting, right? I very much have this Jekyll and Hyde perspective of, like, as I said earlier in this talk, of like, I approach a lot of this from like an FU attitude. But the other side of me really wants people to connect with my stuff. My wife asked me one time, she's like, isn't it enough that you make the stuff and like, that's it? Like, aren't you just like happy that like you made it and that's it? I'm like, and I sat there for a second. I'm like, no, no, it's not. I want people, and I don't want them to like blindly appreciate my content. If they think my content is crap, I want to hear that it's crap. I also want that criticism. But for me, like I'm very much into YouTube right now, and I have a YouTube channel that I'll plug here. That's just Amir Khostavan, and you can find me there. And I make videos about music production and songwriting and tech, and kind of how all of those worlds kind of merge together and stuff. I love it. It's like such a fun thing to do. And part of what I love to do about it is like seeing the comments and like reacting to people in those comments, both positive and negative. Right? Like nothing, I'm at a point in my career, buddy. I've been in the public eye since I was 2-3 years old, right? With my parents being musicians and stuff. Like, I'm used to criticism. Criticism doesn't bother me at all. So many people are scared to put themselves out there because they don't want to be criticized. Criticize me all day, every day. I don't care. That stuff doesn't bother me. Tell me I'm a terrible singer. Great. Tell me I'm a terrible piano player. Great. Tell me I'm a terrible, I don't care. I'll take it. I'll listen to your constructive criticism and I'll decide on my own if there's parts of that I want to extrapolate and put into my work to make myself better, or if it's just all nonsense and I'll disregard, right? So criticism doesn't bother me at all.
Yeah, me neither. When people like criticize me at that level, I actually agree with them. Like, I agree with you.
Well, I have to give you your flowers for a minute here, because before I met you, you had already carved your name out there, like at least in the community that we were in. You had put in the work, right? You weren't some like Joe Schmo who was like looking to make a name off of anyone or anything like that. Like you, when I met you, it became very evident, very clearly, very quickly that you were someone who knew what they were talking about. And those are the people that I vibe with the most. I vibe with people. It's so funny because I'll meet people and others will tell me, oh, that guy or that girl is so hard to work with. They're such a chauvinist, or they're such a this, or they're so egotistical, they're so this. And I have nothing but great relationships with those people. And the reason why is I don't care if people are proud of the stuff that they do, as long as they can back it up. If they can back up what they say they can do, and you're one of those people who can back up, who can say what they can do, then that's all I care about. And being a good person, obviously, like, you're a good person, right? And so like, it's so funny that I've met so many people that are like, oh, so-and-so, I've had a terrible relationship with so-and-so. I'm like, I didn't. I had a wonderful relationship with so-and-so, and it's only because like I can look past the irritability, if you will, that some of those types of people have, because, hey man, if you're an artist, you're a weird person. I'm just gonna put it out there. Like you are.
Yeah.
You and by nature are weird.
I say to my daughter that, my younger daughter, I go like, if anybody at school said you're weird, say, thank you, at least I'm not boring.
100%. Yeah. And to go back to answering your question of like, what is it that I want to, like, I don't know, what message do I want to leave behind, or what is what impression am I hoping to leave? I want to make art that I'm super proud of, number one. So I don't want to put anything out in the world that like I look back and be like, I don't know about that. And some of the Persian stuff that I did, like I view it from that lens, but there is a part of me that's also proud of it. So I leave it as is. But the second is I want to make stuff that people vibe to. And obviously not everyone's going to vibe to it, but I would hope that people vibe to it in some way, shape, or form. Right. That gives me excitement. That gives me joy to make a piece of content that someone goes, wow, like I really dug that. That was great. Or it was cool. It could have been better here, there, and there, and there. Awesome. Mm-hmm. As long as there's like some form of reaction, that's kind of what I'm gunning for. The worst thing in the world is to make stuff and you put it out there and it's like crickets. You don't hear anything and you're like, ooh,
yeah, okay. That's when connection is made.
You know? Yeah, exactly.
Check.
Right? Yeah. But yeah, no, man, I appreciate this was fun. I appreciate you taking the time and putting this together. And you know, I've watched, you know, the content that you've made before. And again, like you and I haven't seen each other in I don't even know how many years. It was before you had kids. I know that much.
Yeah, it's been a while.
I know it's been a while. You
were single back then.
But then it's been at least 11 years. Yeah. And so it's been a while. But I'm happy to see you do well. And I'm happy to see that you're continuing to just put a spotlight on creativity. It's awesome.
Same goes with you, my man. Thank you for being Amir and not somebody else. And being brave and really voicing what's in your heart. And, you know, you're getting out there and being a person and not somebody who is a copy of somebody else and is trying to satisfy others before satisfying himself. So yeah. I super appreciate your time.
Likewise.
And thank you and hope to see you again.
Likewise, buddy. Talk soon.